So I'm Devor Golak. I'm the General Manager for AWS Entity Resolution. I've been at AWS for about 5 years now, really working on exciting products related to data, customer engagement, and I'm super excited to now talk to you about AWS Entity Resolution. To set a little bit of context, I think Swami put it really well earlier today in his keynote, where he mentioned about your data is your differentiator, and it's your asset that's going to help you unlock the value of that data to create new ideas, new experiences across multiple scenarios. So what we've heard from our customers is this fact that companies are faced with inaccuracies in their fragmented data, and this is often the case that it's because this data is stored in different silos, in different applications, channels, and data stores. And it's really hard to get a cross view of all of that data and link it and try to understand it from a holistic perspective as to what that data entails and how do you really unlock that value. We also heard that it's often that the data is incomplete or includes fragments of information that it's hard to piece together. There's this staggering stat of about $3.1 trillion just in the US alone is spent on bad data quality of data. And on average, every customer or every company is spending close to $12 million of spend and cost yearly on trying to get better of unlocking the value of their data, cleaning it up, and getting more use cases out of that information. So we've often seen this image of data as being represented in multiple data islands, whether it's in your contact center, trying to get all information about customer experience, or different mobile applications, email channels, or advertising. So this fragmentation of data is pretty common across different types of verticals. So what we're looking to do here is address this problem with specific solutions that AWS can bring to customers. So I'm super excited to announce the introduction of AWS Entity Resolution. This is a new ML-powered service that helps companies easily match and link related records stored across multiple applications, channels, data stores, using these flexible and configurable workflows that take only minutes to set up. And this is super helpful for companies that want to take all those data fragments, link them together, and then create new experiences with that information. Let me walk you through 3 key benefits of what AWS Entity Resolution helps. The first one is that it helps you set up these entity resolution workflows in a matter of minutes. We've heard from companies that they spent months or not years trying to create these data linking and matching capabilities within their companies. So with AWS Entity Resolution, you can get set up in a matter of minutes. The second part is that we make it super easy for you to configure these rules for your specific business. So think about the ability to, for a financial services company or for an advertising company or a retailer, to configure the data matching logic to their specific needs. So we bring the ability to create rule-based matching where they can configure the specific rules in a specific order that matches to their business outcomes. So this is super powerful as well. We also make it seamless for them to use machine learning for this purpose as well, where you can have the machine learning model that we've developed to help you do that recognition of different data patterns to link all this information together. And thirdly is the ability to have all this be processed where your data resides. So there's hundreds of thousands of data lakes within AWS, in particular in S3, and what we're doing here is bringing the ability to process this entity resolution workflows where your data resides. So this helps companies minimize data movement across different data environments that they might have, and helps protect data by having that process where that data lives. So to give you a better sense of what this product looks like and a quick demonstration, I'm going to welcome Shobit Gupta, who is our product manager in this space, who's going to walk you through how this service works and give a quick demo.
Hi everyone, my name is Shobit, part of the product team at AWS Entity Resolution. I'm super excited to be in front of you today and give you a deep dive or what AWS Entity Resolution can do for your business. So I would start off by saying, what are the top product features that Davor just talked about in terms of benefits you can use to deliver on your use cases? As you look at your data pipeline from data input to data output, we can divide your feature sets into 4 to 5 major parts. The first one is right at your data input, your data already exists in AWS Glue. So we provide you an out-of-the-box data preparation tools to help you normalize and schematize your data. When we talk about normalization, what we mean is you can convert your data and remove special characters, make sure all the data looks the same. Step number 2, and that's super critical for us, is data security and protection. As your data is processed through our service, we ensure that data is always encrypted, in transit, and in rest. And that also makes sure that if you want, you can have additional hashing protocol to further hash the data. The second feature, data protection and security. The third feature is where the magic happens, is related to the matching workflow. Matching workflow, think about it like a workflow that allows you to put the required data inputs, matching techniques, and tell where to write the data output to be. And you can slice and dice and change the matching techniques as per your needs. The fourth is related to rule-based matching, or deterministic matching as we call it. In rule-based matching, you can configure up to 15 different rules to go and find matches in your records. So that's number 3, that's rule-based matching. You can absolutely configure rule-based matching that I'll show you in my demo later in the presentation. Then we go in and we talk about the machine learning-based matching. In machine learning-based matching, we have a pre-configured model for you that looks at the entire record holistically through all your data sets and is able to find similar or related records. For example, it can detect spelling mistakes such as John versus JHN, Jane versus JN, and can look at address information details such as street versus STREET, so on and so forth. It can also take a look at missing data. Our customers have told us that finding similar records in records which has missing information is a big pain point. And that's one of the things that the machine learning matching takes care of for you. Now, you know about the data inputs, you know about data preparation, you know the matching techniques to use. Now you need to tell us what's the cadence at which we match and process your data. So for us to process your data, we have 2 options for you in terms of cadence. You can use manual/bulk processing, so we can process all of your data in a batch format at the required cadence that you ask us to. Or you can process incremental processing, especially for rule-based matching, so that as soon as you have new data that comes in, your workflow is up to date with all the changes in your data. And it works in S3 end-to-end. Last but not the least, now you have all this information, you have all the goodness of getting the matched results out, which is in your S3 bucket. You can quickly retrieve the results of your match results by calling our APIs, which is a lookup API. So you send us any kind of attributes that consists of your record, and we will look up the required match ID and return it for you. That's usually used by our customers to identify and locate the customer information. So now we have a good understanding of the features that AWS Entity Resolution provides. Now let's look at an end-to-end flow of how to use these features in action. So on your left side of your screen, you look at how data silos exist today. You have advertising platform data, you have contact center data, you have retail data, and all of that data is demonstrated in this graph. Then on the right-hand side, you're looking at the data output, that how we take all the data and are able to create like a link or a match ID, as we call it, to help find those related records. And in the middle is the entity resolution workspace that I talked about. And in that workspace, you have all the features such as normalization, hashing, rule-based matching, ML-based matching that you can pick and drop. And the way you want to configure is like all of these 4 options are options in your workflow. So in this example, a customer has been using 3 things. They're using normalization, they're using hashing, and they're using rule-based matching. And they were able to find the 1st, 5th, and the 6th record to be similar to each other. How? Because all 3 of those records have the same phone number. So the matching rule that was used to create that linkage is the phone number. And you can see they all have the same match ID. Similarly, another customer can go and change the kind of matching logic to get different results. For example, in this case, this customer decides to use machine learning-based matching. In machine learning-based matching, it takes a look at all of those records and is able to find how Alexander is same as Alex, and is able to create a match ID which was not as obvious for rule-based matching. All right, so by now we have a good understanding of what to expect from the demo. Now all of you can look at the screen. This is the AWS Entity Resolution homepage. You can just go and you can navigate to AWS Entity Resolution, and you can click Get Started. As the screen loads up, the most important point for us to remember here is Entity Resolution can provide you 2, 3, even 30 different workflows. So what you're seeing in front of you is a detail of all the workflows that are part of this account. Now what I'm going to show you is all the things that I talked about can be boiled down to just 4 steps. I'll show you how. You click Create Matching Workflow. You tell us what's the name of the workflow. You can just have, say, any company, say, information about my customers. Your data is already in Glue, so we don't need to move your data anywhere. It's already there. You select it. You just give us the service role to access the data. That's your step number 1. So you specify the matching inputs for us. Tell us where your data is. That's step number 1. In step number 2, you have a choice between rule-based matching and machine learning-based matching as I recommend. If you just use machine learning-based matching, you don't even have to think anymore. You give it up for the machine to go and figure out the match records for you, and you can just click Next. Or if you want more configurability that Devor talked about in his benefits, your configurability can actually come through if you want to dive deep into the rule-based matching. Even in rule-based matching, we want to make it very easy for you to use it. So we have already generated a set of rules for you on the basis of the data that you provided. And here you can see there are 9 rules that have been created on the basis of the input fields that were provided at the data input layer. You can absolutely go and change the hierarchy of these rules by using these simple buttons. Just click on this, and the rule hierarchy gets changed. If you want, you can obviously add and remove some attributes depending on your needs. You can also A/B test between different matching techniques to find the right fit. And that's all about this page. Now comes the third and the final stage. So step 1 was data input. Step 2 was matching technique. And step 3 is about where do we write the output of your match results. Just go and click Browse S3. Let's say I select this predefined output location that I have. Now you can make a decision of writing your data as we received it, which is the original data format. Or you can go and use the normalized format where we have changed the information to remove special characters, spaces. That's a choice that you have. If you want, you have the ability to customize your encryption settings. So we already have an encryption key. We can use the same encryption key to keep your data protected in the data output. Or you can go ahead and you can change that. What the service does is the service generates these 4 new columns in the output. And these 4 new columns demonstrates which of the records were actually similar and matched. First is a resource number that talks about your data. Second is a match ID, which shows how your different records are linked together with a single ID. Then what rule was used to actually generate that match. And last but not the least, if you really want to hash your data for further protection in downstream applications, you can also specify the hashing protocol we'll use to hash your data. You always have the option, like again, going back to the benefit of ease of use and configurability, very easily you can configure what attributes you want to see in your data output. For example, you might have an activation use case where all you need is hashed email address. Or for example, you might also have a CRM use case where you're writing your data back and you want all of your attributes. So in this case, we have all the data sets here. You click Next. You just quickly go and review what are the different information that you have already put into the system, and you're done. So we took months of time for writing procedures, writing SQL queries, homegrown systems, hiring ML teams, and we took all of the work and we made it down to 3 steps for you. Now, your job is in progress. Depending on your data, it will take some time for it to finish. But what I have for you is I already have some workflows executed for you. And as you see, the any company workflow that I just generated can be shown here, it can be seen here, it's in progress, and I can show you the results from a previous workflow in this case. So once your workflow is executed, you will have your workflow detail page. And your workflow detail page will have all the metrics related to your workflow. Let me find one which has more information. Let's go for this. It's taking some time to load. Let's just quickly finalize on what did we learn in the demo session today. So just to summarize, the different features we learned about today was data preparation, rule-based matching, machine learning-based matching, data output, near-field lookup, and the matching workflow. With that, I will hand it over to Adam Solomon to talk about industry use cases.
Thank you so much, Shobit, for that amazing demo. I'm Adam Solomon, worldwide go-to-market lead for AWS Entity Resolution. Shobit just walked us through, step by step, how the AWS Entity Resolution service operates. But what are some of the use cases that we've heard from customers that led to the development of the service, and how are customers using the service today? Here are 4 key use cases. The first one, pretty straightforward, but extremely important. Data deduplication. Customers have duplicate records from consumers, members of households, businesses, or products sitting in the same data repository. Or more likely, they have this data sitting in multiple repositories. Customers need to deduplicate that data. They need to clean it, normalize it, deduplicate it, and compress it to get it ready for AI/ML, analytics, or whatever their key business use cases are. Another use case we've heard is creating unified profiles. Think of this as a hub and spoke. For many companies, they have a subscriber database, a loyalty program, or an e-com database sitting at the heart of everything they do as a business. Consumers might be interacting with different touch points related to that business. But how does that company know that this person interacting with this website or this app or this connected TV application is the same person that's already a subscriber or a loyalty member? Customers need to match and link those data records across those various systems. Once you've deduplicated the data, once you've linked the data together, you can apply it to use cases including personalization across all your touch points. You can use it for advertising and marketing use cases. Once you have a better sense of which records go together and the attributes that go with those users, you can use it to create better experiences for your customers. Also, companies have told us that AWS Entity Resolution can be very useful when it comes to linking product information and product codes. So taking product information that may come from different sources and linking it together to bring together different products to get a unified view of those products as entities as well. Again, a little more, get into specific examples. An airline may have a loyalty program. Consumers actually may create multiple entries into a loyalty program. They may sign up multiple times. Some airlines these days are giving away or providing free Wi-Fi for members of their loyalty program. People may not remember their logins. They may register multiple times. An airline may want to use AWS Entity Resolution with rule-based matching or machine learning matching to deduplicate those users in their loyalty database. Now let's make this example a little more complicated. Same airline, they have their loyalty database, but consumers may be purchasing airline tickets, but not declaring their affinity or their loyalty, entering their loyalty information. That same airline may want to match and link records, not only within their loyalty database, but also with the reservation database or other touch points. They want to bring all that information together so that they know that this consumer is a loyal member and can interact with them as such. Another example, retail company with product information. We've heard from many retailers that they get products from many distributors, many sources. Many products have information that looks similar, but these are distinctly different products. They may want to link together product information like stock keeping units and other information to understand that this is the same television, or this is the same fan, or this is the same consumer packaged goods. We've also heard from companies that are in the order delivery business that in order for them to better understand their customers, they want to take information related to restaurants and the things that people are ordering at restaurants and link those together using AWS Entity Resolution. Apparently, there aren't universal codes for cheese pizza and greasy cheeseburgers. So this is a use case that we've heard from customers where AWS Resolution could be very helpful. For some real customer examples, how AWS Resolution is helping solve some of the most complex business challenges, I'd like to welcome Justin D. Brabant, Chief Product Officer, Action IQ.
I'm Justin de Brabant. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Action IQ. And we're going to talk about how identity and customer identity in particular really fits in the context of customer experiences and how we're leveraging AWS Entity Resolution to solve for that. At Action IQ, our mission is to transform customer experiences with the power of data. And we are a customer experience hub built on top of a composable CDP. There's going to be a quiz on 3-letter acronyms at the end of this, so pay attention. And we primarily work across large enterprise customers. So like some of the examples today, really complex data ecosystems, complex environments, multiple use cases for the same data sets, retail, media, financial services, B2B tech in particular. So when we talk about transforming customer experiences, personalization is at the core of that. And when we talk about personalization, there's 4 key pillars that we think about in order to get personalization right. Now, we're at an AWS conference, so obviously data is going to be the foundation of any of that. And really, when we talk about data in the context of CX, it's really around first-party data. It's the data that the brands own on their customers and how they're leveraging that to improve their products and experiences. The second part of that is identity, right? It's really difficult to have a good personalization strategy and great customer experiences if you don't know who your customers are. If you think one person is 4 different people in your CRM, you're going to have issues. And collectively, data and identity usually are combined in what is called a customer 360. The second side of this is around how that data is used and ultimately activated. So the first pillar is decisioning. So being able to get insights, intelligence, usually some form of audience creation, and importantly, how that can be democratized throughout the organization, right? You don't want to have this data locked behind technical resources. Not everybody in the organization knows SQL. If you sampled the room here, I mean, you probably get a bias. I think it's a pretty technical group, but in general, it's about how you empower non-technical users, marketing, sales, service, support, to really make the most of their data and ultimately activate it. And the last piece is the activation. So activation is how you intelligently orchestrate and activate those experiences across the downstream customer experience channels. So again, not just marketing, but sales, service, support, any place where you're interacting with your customer, how do you make sure that experience is very personalized? So a CDP solves for this. CDP stands for Customer Data Platform, and it was really designed to sit between your first-party data ecosystem, so all these data sources in both batch and real-time, email activity data, digital clickstream data, CRM data, POS data, and then sit across your downstream CX channels, whether it be owned like email, SMS, push notifications, paid media, or non-marketing channels like sales, service, support, as well as inbound channels like websites and call center. CDP space has been around a little over 7 years now. And in this space, it really started with the concept of what we now call a bundled CDP. And this is relevant, especially as we see how identity is evolving. And really a bundled CDP was one where the customer 360, the data and identity, lived within the CDP vendor's own infrastructure. So essentially a copy of the customer data was managed in their infrastructure, and identity and the customer 360 were created on top of that, and then a series of applications were put on top. There was a lot of reasons why the industry really started out with this bundled approach. First and foremost was that at the time, there wasn't a lot of maturity in the cloud data infrastructure space. Yes, the products and services were there, but in large enterprises, the data was still all over the place. They were early on in really trying to get their data in this cloud data lake, lakehouse, EDW, whatever the vernacular. And so if your goal is to improve customer experiences and really democratize customer data, you need to start by stitching that data together, layering on that identity, and then ultimately the intelligence and the activation. And so before there was maturity on the client side around that cloud data lake, a lot of CDP vendors actually went and created that customer 360 themselves. They stitched together the CRM data, the POS data, the digital clickstream data, the app data into one consistent customer profile and made that available through his applications. But a lot's changed in the last couple of years. And so there's a concept that is in the application space and CDP in particular around composability. And we also talk about the unbundling of the customer 360. And so the unbundling of the customer 360 is really this idea around brands now have a lot more data maturity, right? We're going in and they have a BigQuery, Redshift, Snowflake, Databricks, Data Lake. The data has been integrated from all these different systems, and it's there. And so it's becoming less about the unification and the creation of that customer 360 and more about, okay, the infrastructure is there, how do we tap into it? And a composable CDP is one that can sit on top of the client's cloud data infrastructure or on-prem data infrastructure, push queries down directly and not need to move or copy or replicate the data outside of the client's infrastructure, but instead can still provide that application interface into that infrastructure. And so we call this a zero-copy architecture, not forcing any data copies. The whole composability trend in CDPs really started with data, but what we're seeing now is it's moving to identity, and AWS Entity Resolution is a great example of that. Identity is essentially moving down the stack, living with data, and it's part of the customer 360 that our clients are building on their own infrastructure. And it makes sense. Really, identity is an extension of the data. You shouldn't have to copy your data outside of that ecosystem in order to create identity only to push it back. And composable applications like CDPs are really embracing this trend and finding new ways to integrate data, services, identity into their stack to kind of support this zero-copy architecture and this trend toward composability. The reason we're here as an early customer is because we embraced that trend. We were excited to hear that AWS was building a service around entity resolution and how we could apply it to identity. There were a couple of key requirements as we started to get going. So first and foremost, we needed a solution that could scale. We only work with large enterprises. Scale needs to be a first-order requirement as we deploy this across tens, if not hundreds of millions of records for some of our largest clients. And it's not just about the architectural scale, it's also about the commercial scale, being able to do something that works and is cost-effective so that the ROI is there for our clients. Second piece is around the customization and configuration of the product and how it does that matching, how it does that stitching. It's great to have these out-of-the-box rules and models, and certainly those are ways to accelerate deployments and provide quicker time to value, but at the same time, every client is different. Every data is different, different use cases, different considerations, different quality of data, right? We have a lot of clients that have certain sources of data are more trusted than others just by the nature of which they were collected. And they want to factor that into how they do and define that matching, how they do that stitching, how to prioritize these certain rules over others. And then finally, like I said before, embracing this idea around composability and a zero-copy architecture. So allowing that identity to live as close as possible down the stack, close to the data, and really reside within that same cloud ecosystem. So what did we do? We actually POC'd this with a handful of clients that we actually already had on our homegrown identity solution. Again, some of the requirements, we needed to make sure this could seamlessly integrate into our own product. We wanted to provide a great experience for our customers, and certainly something that fit within our existing product ecosystem and infrastructure was going to be important. We knew out of the gate that we need to support both rules-based and ML-based matching. That's what we do today. I really don't think it's about one or the other which is better. It's about both, right? You need to have the ability to define and prioritize these rules, then you need to augment that with these probabilistic model-based matching techniques. And again, as data gets messier, or as you're integrating data from more and more sources, that probabilistic method becomes all the more critical. And then again, scale. We need to scale this to handle our largest customers. Out of the box, we needed to make sure that this could handle tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of records within the SLAs that we had already defined within our product. And so we deployed this across a handful of customers, in particular one major US retailer. And we found a couple things that I think were indicative of how AWS approached building this product. One is we actually saw that there was a faster time to value. You saw the demo from Shobit just now. It's very configurable. This isn't a code-based deployment. It's a very drag and drop. Yes, you need to understand the data and understand what you're trying to do with that data. But there's a great interface out of the box for defining these rules and priorities and applying the probabilistic matching on top of that. And some accelerators like the rules recommendations and the out-of-the-box models certainly make it easier to get going very quickly. And time to value for clients is important, right? It's great if you can, do it perfectly, but quick is good too, right? And so we saw overall a faster time to value, lower cost deployments for this AWS Entity Resolution deployment. And then the other piece here is a lower incremental cost for processing the records. And the reason here is AWS actually built in a lot from the ground up for doing incremental processing. You can do this as a brute force approach every time, but you have to reprocess a lot of data that really hasn't changed, right? And that's the easiest thing to do. But it can be expensive both in terms of the time it takes to run and the compute it takes to run. And so what we were really impressed by was the fact that right out of the box, there were these very powerful incremental processing rules baked in. And because data doesn't change that frequently, the data that you're trying to match on for these clients was not changing on a daily basis, what we found is that after that initial run, the incremental processing was very, very quick and very, very cost effective. And it ended up being a lower cost solution than kind of the brute force batch approach which we'd taken in the past. So what does this mean? We're excited because we think this is the start of a trend of entity resolution and identity living closer and closer to the data warehouse. And as is often the case, AWS is a leader in this, and we're excited to be partnering with them as they launch and improve this new service. From our standpoint, right, it means that we can allow the storage and compute and AI and models, which is a whole other topic, to continue to live within AWS and the client's infrastructure, and provide the applications in this composable way on top of that, with identity being kind of the interface between the two. And just to reemphasize this is really kind of the beginning of this. We're excited about the partnership. We believe strongly that brands should own their data. It is their IP, it is their differentiator. You've heard that many times today at the conference, and I think we have a great partner in AWS and moving towards this and make that a reality.
Thank you so much, Justin. For another great customer example using AWS Entity Resolution, please welcome Lorenzo Valmazzoni, Data Solution Manager, Merkle.
Hello everyone, thank you. So yes, I'm Lorenzo Valmazzoni. I work as a Data Solution Manager at Merkle, more specifically Merkle DACH, which is one of the branches of Merkle in Europe. Today, I wanted to talk to you about a proof of concept that we have been working on in the last few months, and is a new personalized marketing solution, which has its core on AWS and where AWS Entity Resolution plays a crucial role. I will conclude by sharing a few thoughts on why we believe that the launch of AWS Entity Resolution is great news for our clients. In our proof of concept, we created a prototype of an e-shop. That's a classical e-shop you might use every day, where a customer can land on a homepage, browse, find new products, then he can register, add his own personal data, and personal data here is quite important because as some of those attributes we're going to use then to solve the problem of the entity resolution. You can still browse, add products on the cart, and then the end can purchase. So a classical situation you might face when you're purchasing online. So all these interactions are important for us because they trigger data, the behavioral data, and also other type of data. In this proof of concept, we capture data via real time as well as via batch data processing. We can use, there are a lot of technologies one can use to capture those data. It's not really that important now. What is important is that the same customers, we can find the behavior of the same customer in 2 or more data sources. And this is exactly why we need to solve the problem entity resolution to create a 360 customer view and to be able afterwards to create a cohesive marketing communication. We focus in POC on tracking data. Clearly, we plan also to add other type of data. This can be, for instance, CRM data or ERP data or any other type of data which contains customer behavior and other customer data. I'd like just to give you a high-level idea of how it works, our proof of concept. So as mentioned, customers can interact with our prototype of e-shop. These data are collected in different ways. In our case, real-time via batch. In batch mode, we have some connectors which basically transfer those data to our AWS engine. The AWS engine, we solve the problem of identity resolution. We then we create segmentation, customization, we create the product recommendations, and then these data are ready to be used to create a unified market communication, meaning that the customer can see his own personal recommendation both on site, so back to the e-shop that we created, as well as through other market communication means or channels, so like most typically Google AdWords or Meta Business Partner or through email marketing communication. So there are many tools out there, CRM tools. One of them is surely, for instance, Salesforce Marketing Cloud. Let me go through quickly, but I try also to keep it simple to a little bit how it works, this AWS engine that we created. As you see, a customer can interact with our e-shop, and then we track data both real-time and batch, as mentioned. In the upper part, you see how we tracked those data real-time. So we use the Kafka service AWS, and we stream those data into Amazon DynamoDB, which is a low-latency database, which help us to stream real-time those data and also to be able to activate those data real time. In the lower part, we see how we get those data through batch modes. These are also other type of data. We do that by using integrators as service connectors that transfer data into S3 buckets, and that goes in Amazon Redshift. Amazon Redshift also contains data that we streamed through Kafka. The important thing here is that Amazon's Redshift contains all the data, so acts as a little bit our data warehouse. And there is where we have the data ready to go through entity resolution. And this is where AWS Entity Resolution does the job in order to identify the specific customer across different data sources. Once we solve the problem of entity resolution, well, then we are able to further process the data and to further give value to the data by creating personalized segmentations and personalization through Amazon SageMaker, where we create some customized machine learning model and segmentation. And we also use Amazon Personalize to create product recommendation in order to leverage also a little bit the know-how of Amazon. Then a marketing team has all its own data, potentially to create new marketing campaigns. And this is where we have the phase of data activation. So the data are sent to through different channels, but the important thing is that the customer gets the same message. Okay, this can be through the call center or through an email, but it gets the same message. That's why it's a unified and cohesive communication that we can give to the customer. Let me just a little bit zoom in on how we integrated the AWS Entity Resolution in our architecture. So as you see, as mentioned before, we have all our data in Amazon Redshift where we curate them, and we can also normalize them. These data then are transferred to an S3 bucket and then are available for Amazon Entity Resolution to solve the problem of entity resolution. So to create that ID that we need to identify the customer across different data sources. After that, the data gets back to S3 bucket and then it gets back Amazon Redshift. We orchestrated all these jobs through Airflow, the Airflow service of Amazon. And we used, as you see on the right-hand side in the configuration, we used rule-based matching, and we gave some rules like which specific attributes to use in order to create an entity resolution. So this could be, for instance, email addresses, could be other type of IDs, could be also the physical address of a customer. Let me share a few thoughts about that. So we know that Amazon is offering a number of great services for companies in order to manage data for knowledge and intelligence. However, knowledge has rather an indirect ROI, and actually companies can get more out of their data. Data activation enables a way more direct ROI via timely communication. But what is really important is that the communication is consistent, is tailored, and is cohesive. AWS Entity Resolution offers this possibility and actually can provide even further value to the more established services of Amazon, like could be Redshift or S3, those that we might use every day to manage data. And we believe that at Merkle we can transfer potential to performance really by identifying the right use cases and by tailoring the right architecture to our clients. And this way we can actually help brands to overcome those classical challenges they have when they want to provide their customer with a cohesive communication and with a great experience.
Wow, that was exciting to see how our customers are applying this technology to serve their customers and to create better experiences. So one of the things that I just saw that makes me excited is that at AWS we work backwards from our customers' problems and challenges, and it's clear to see how both of these customers just showed us how they're taking a look at AWS components as a foundational building block to enable new experiences in their infrastructure. And it's one of the key benefits that we mentioned. How can we help customers and companies create these capabilities much faster in a way that helps reduce data movement and makes it super configurable to their needs. So it's super exciting to see those examples in place. So just a quick recap of what we've talked about before. It's the ability to set up these entity resolution workflows in a matter of minutes. We've seen it from the demo from Shobit as to how in a couple of 4 minutes, he walked through all the different steps and components. Second is the ability to configure these workflows, whether it's using rule-based matching for your specific needs or applying machine learning, what we call the easy button to create the matching logic using pattern recognition that matches to their specific outcomes. And then lastly, providing what customers expect, the data security aspects that come with AWS and bringing all these processing jobs directly into S3 so that you can minimize the data, facilitate the onboarding and adoption of this service, and help you just get quickly ramped into using this service. Let me share a little bit more of what is coming soon. So this, we're super excited of what we launched today, but we're also looking as to what comes next. You might have heard from the keynote from Swami today that we're announcing partner integrations in this space. So in particular with LiveRamp, TransUnion, and UID 2.0, which is an open source framework. these partners will bring different identity resolution capabilities that help complement what we just shown today in terms of the rule-based and machine learning-based capabilities. So very excited about those partner integrations coming soon. Second, earlier we announced and launched AWS Clean Rooms, which is our data clean room within AWS, and we're going to be bringing the capabilities of entity resolution more seamless directly into the data clean rooms service, so that customers can do data collaboration more easily using data preparation that entity resolution provides, as well as different translation with our partner integrations that we have coming. Amazon Marketing Cloud that is used within Amazon Ads, we're going to be looking to provide seamless integration of these entity resolution workflows for their customers as well, with upcoming capabilities so that they can create the seamless experiences for advertisers, agencies to use directly in Amazon Marketing Cloud. So very excited about that. And with any creation of machine learning, we're constantly evolving those, and we'll develop additional models that fit different types of data types. So this is an area that, working again backwards from our customers' needs, we'll hear from different needs into different industries and use cases that apply here. So we are constantly updating those models to continue to increase the accuracy of. As you know, to learn more and to get started using AWS Entity Resolution, just go to amazon.com/entity resolution to quickly get started. Thank you so much for your time today, and I appreciate to all of our customers, and thank you for your time.